In the heart of a vast, sun-baked desert, where the air shimmered with heat and the wind whispered secrets of the past, a chaplain named Father Samuel dedicated his life to bringing hope to weary soldiers. Clad in a simple uniform, he moved through the camp like a calming breeze, offering prayers and comfort to those facing the harsh realities of war. His gentle smile and kind words provided solace amid chaos, reminding each soldier that they were not alone. Father Samuel understood that his role went beyond spiritual guidance. He was a beacon of humanity in a world overshadowed by conflict. He often held small gatherings under a makeshift tent, where troops would share stories and laughter, momentarily forgetting their fears. The bond he formed with them was profound. They saw him as both a spiritual leader and a trusted friend. As whispers of danger grew around the camp, Father Samuel sensed a dark cloud looming over his soldiers. He had heard rumors of scouts going missing and battles turning crueler than ever. Little did he know that soon he would face an unimaginable test of faith and moral courage when he discovered one such scout bound in chains, setting off a chain of events that would challenge everything he believed in. One scorching afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the sandy expanse, Father Samuel decided to venture beyond the camp in search of fresh water. The air was thick with heat and tension, and he felt an unsettling feeling growing in his heart. As he walked cautiously over the dunes, he noticed something unusual, a flicker of movement among the rocky outcrops nearby. Curiosity piqued, he moved closer and soon stumbled upon a sight that sent chills down his spine. There, in a secluded hollow, lay a scout tightly bound by heavy chains. The young man's face was pale and drawn, marked by dirt and distress. His clothes were tattered, and his wrists were raw from struggling against the harsh metal bindings. Father Samuel knelt beside him, quickly scanning the area for any signs of danger. "Please," the scout rasped, desperation evident in his voice. "I've been left here to die." Overwhelmed with compassion, Father Samuel promised to help him but knew they had to act fast. Time was running out as dark clouds gathered on the horizon, foreshadowing a storm that was both literal and metaphorical for them all. As Father Samuel knelt beside the scout, he could see a flicker of hope in the young man's eyes. "My name is Jake," he whispered, his voice weak but determined. "I was scouting ahead for our unit when I stumbled into an enemy camp. I tried to gather information about their plans." Jake took a shaky breath, wincing as he shifted against the chains. "I thought I could sneak away unnoticed, but they caught me. They wanted to make an example of me." He described how he endured days of cruel treatment, locked away with others who had been captured, all while witnessing the brutality of the enemy forces. "I saw them interrogate soldiers," Jake continued, a tremor in his voice. "They'd stop at nothing to get information. I did everything I could to resist." His eyes filled with tears as he recalled his friends being taken away, never to return. "I was left here, abandoned because they thought my spirit was broken." Father Samuel listened intently, feeling a mix of admiration and sorrow for the scout's bravery amid such betrayal. "We need to get you out of here," he said firmly, knowing that their escape had to happen soon if they were going to survive this ordeal together. Just as Father Samuel was formulating a plan to free Jake, the sound of heavy boots echoed across the sandy ground. General Thompson emerged from the distance, his tall figure silhouetted against the setting sun. Known for his stern demeanor and unwavering authority, he commanded immediate respect from all who served under him. His uniform was crisp, adorned with medals that glimmered like stars, and his face bore the marks of countless battles. "Chaplain," he called out, his voice booming. "What are you doing here?" As he approached, Father Samuel's heart sank, knowing that the general had a reputation for decisiveness, often favoring swift action over careful consideration. General Thompson eyed Jake with contempt as if the chains were a mark of shame. "This scout is a traitor," he declared sharply. "We have evidence that he was caught spying on our operations. We cannot allow such acts to go unpunished." He gestured towards the heavy chains still binding Jake, believing they were clear proof of betrayal. The tension rose in the air as Father Samuel felt a deepening conflict within him. He understood the general's perspective but feared for the young scout's life. Time was slipping away, and decisions had to be made quickly. General Thompson stepped closer to Jake, the chains glinting ominously in the dwindling sunlight. "These chains are all the evidence we need," he proclaimed, his voice steady and unwavering. "They signify treachery and betrayal. A spy caught red-handed should face justice, not sympathy." He crossed his arms, looking at Father Samuel with a challenging gaze, as if daring him to disagree. Father Samuel felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "But General, we cannot judge someone solely by the chains that bind him. Jake was trying to protect our troops by gathering information." He gestured toward the scout, whose eyes were filled with fear and desperation. "He endured brutal treatment and deserves a chance to explain himself." The general's brow furrowed, frustration evident in his stance. "Compassion in the face of treason is weakness, Chaplain. We must send a message that betrayal will not be tolerated." The air crackled with tension as Father Samuel wrestled with the weight of moral choices. He could see the humanity in Jake's eyes and knew that rushing to judgment could lead to an irreversible mistake. Time was running out, and he had to find a way to save the scout without defying military order completely. As Father Samuel stood before General Thompson, the weight of the moment pressed heavily on his shoulders. He understood the general's desire for order and discipline in the military, yet his heart ached for Jake, who was possibly innocent and caught in a web of misunderstanding. The chaplain's mind raced with questions about justice and what it truly meant in a time of war. "Should we not allow a fair trial?" Father Samuel asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "What if we execute someone who is not guilty? Where does that leave us as men of honor?" He could feel the tension tightening around them as General Thompson's frown deepened. The general's perspective was clear: punishment must be swift to deter any potential threats. Yet, Father Samuel couldn't help but feel that compassion was just as vital to maintaining integrity among their ranks. What message would they send if they chose immediate execution over understanding? As he glanced at Jake, whose fearful eyes searched for hope, Father Samuel realized he had to advocate for the scout's right to defend himself and seek the truth. In this moment, it became clear: justice could not be rushed without risking their very humanity. The tension in the air was palpable as Father Samuel faced General Thompson, who stood firm, unwavering in his commitment to military orders. "We cannot show weakness, Chaplain," the general asserted, his voice a sharp contrast to the fragile hope lingering around Jake. "This is war, and war demands quick decisions. If we allow doubt to creep in, we risk our entire mission." Father Samuel took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the lives at stake. "But isn't it also our duty to uphold justice? What kind of soldiers do we want to be if we execute someone without allowing him a chance to defend himself?" His heart raced as he spoke, aware that questioning the general's authority could lead to severe consequences. The general's eyes narrowed as he considered Father Samuel's words. "You're playing with fire," he warned, tension crackling like lightning between them. "Your compassion could cost us dearly." Realizing that both men were fighting for what they believed was right, Father Samuel understood that this was not just a battle over one scout's fate, it was a clash of values at the core of their humanity. He had to find a way to bridge the gap between military duty and moral integrity before it was too late. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an ominous glow over the camp as General Thompson made his decision. With a hard set of his jaw and a voice that brooked no dissent, he declared, "We will execute the scout at dawn." The words hung in the air like a death knell, sending shivers through the soldiers gathered nearby. Father Samuel's heart raced as he witnessed the immediate fear wash over the troops. They had seen enough violence to know what this order meant. Whispers spread among them, some murmuring their discontent while others nodded in grim acceptance of the general's harsh resolve. The image of Jake, still chained and vulnerable, flashed through Father Samuel's mind, but he felt powerless to change the course of events unfolding before him. "Gather the men," Thompson ordered sharply, turning to issue commands with military precision. "We need to send a clear message that betrayal will not be tolerated." The urgency in his tone left no room for discussion, and Father Samuel felt a tight knot forming in his stomach. As soldiers moved about with a mix of dread and resignation, Father Samuel knew he had to act quickly if he hoped to save Jake from this tragic fate. Time was running out, and every second counted. With the weight of desperation heavy on his heart, Father Samuel approached General Thompson as the soldiers prepared for the grim execution. The tension was unbearable, and he could feel the eyes of the men upon them, filled with uncertainty and fear. "General," he began, his voice steady but tinged with emotion, "I implore you to reconsider this decision." Thompson turned to him, irritation flashing in his eyes. "Chaplain, we must act decisively. If we show mercy now, it undermines our entire operation." Father Samuel took a deep breath, recalling Jake's fearful gaze. "Justice should not be swift and blind, it must be thoughtful. We risk becoming what we fight against if we execute a man without allowing him a chance to defend himself." He stepped closer, his voice lowering to a heartfelt plea. "I have seen war take away our humanity, let us not surrender ours in this moment. What message does it send if we punish before understanding? Isn't our duty also to protect the innocent?" The general hesitated, caught between duty and the chaplain's unwavering compassion. As silence enveloped them, Father Samuel hoped that somewhere within Thompson's resolve lay an ounce of mercy that could save an innocent life from the brink of despair. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the camp, the tension reached a breaking point. Father Samuel stood resolutely before General Thompson, his heart pounding in his chest. "You cannot go through with this," he urged, desperation lacing his voice. "Jake deserves a chance to defend himself. This isn't justice, it's murder." General Thompson's face darkened, anger flashing in his eyes. "You're jeopardizing everything we stand for, Chaplain. If we show mercy now, we'll invite chaos into our ranks. The men need to see strength, not hesitation." The soldiers nearby shifted uneasily, sensing the weight of the moment. Father Samuel took a step closer, his voice rising in defiance. "And what kind of strength comes from executing an innocent man? We're better than this. We fight for honor and humanity, not blind cruelty." For a heartbeat, silence engulfed them, the air thick with unresolved tension. Father Samuel could see that the general was wavering but knew he had to push harder. "If you proceed with this execution, you will lose not just Jake but your very soul as a leader." With emotions running high and lives hanging in the balance, the two men faced each other, one advocating for justice and the other clinging to military order, each unwilling to back down as the sun set on their final chance for mercy. As the final moments before dawn approached, a heavy silence enveloped the camp, creating an atmosphere thick with doubts and unspoken fears. Father Samuel stood, heart racing, reflecting on the weight of responsibility resting upon him. He felt the urgency of his role as a chaplain, his commitment to uphold justice and compassion for Jake, a man he believed to be innocent. At the same time, General Thompson wrestled with his own internal turmoil. Beneath his hardened exterior lay a man who understood the grave implications of his decision. He feared that showing mercy would breed weakness and chaos within the ranks. Yet, he could sense the echoes of the chaplain's passionate pleas resonating within him, a reminder of the moral fiber that held them together as soldiers and human beings. Jake, still chained and vulnerable, clung to a flicker of hope, yearning for acknowledgement and a chance to prove his worth. Each character stood at a crossroads, grappling with their ideals of justice, what it meant to protect their fellow soldiers, and what it demanded of them in terms of humanity. In this moment of reflection, the stakes had never been clearer. They were not just fighting for survival but also for the principles that defined them all. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the camp, the moment of reckoning arrived. Father Samuel and General Thompson stood as representatives of two conflicting worlds, one driven by duty and the other by compassion. The air was thick with anticipation as soldiers gathered, their faces a mix of anxiety and uncertainty about what was to come. In that pivotal moment, the choices made would ripple through their lives. Father Samuel took a deep breath, ready to voice his final plea for mercy when unexpectedly, General Thompson raised a hand to halt the proceedings. "I cannot proceed," he declared, his voice firm yet laden with internal conflict. The weight of his decision lingered in the air as he glanced at Jake, whose expression shifted from fear to relief. The soldiers were left to ponder what had just transpired. Questions about right and wrong lingered like shadows. Had they made the right choice? In a war where loyalty blurs with uncertainty, everyone involved faced the reality that justice is complex and often intertwined with the very fabric of humanity they sought to protect. This moment marked not just a reprieve for Jake but created a shared understanding among the soldiers that sometimes, in times of conflict, mercy is the most courageous decision of all. Their ideals had been tested, and though they emerged changed, they remained committed to navigating the difficult path of righteousness in a world fractured by war. As the dust settled from the intense events, the camp was transformed into a space of reflection, where soldiers and leaders alike pondered the weight of their choices. The incident surrounding Jake had unearthed deep questions about morality in the heat of conflict. Father Samuel understood that war demands difficult decisions, often pitting duty against compassion. This scenario illustrated that the notions of right and wrong are rarely black and white. In military contexts, lives are constantly at stake, yet it's vital to remember that those lives come with stories and humanity. The camaraderie built through shared struggles must not lead to a detachment from empathy. General Thompson, having witnessed the power of mercy, felt a shift within himself, an acknowledgement that strength does not solely lie in authority but also in understanding and compassion. The soldiers began to realize that the moral choices made in times of war resonate beyond their immediate consequences. They shape their identities and the legacies they leave behind. This moment urged everyone present to reflect on their own lives, how easy it is to justify harsh decisions in challenging times but how crucial it is to preserve one's humanity. In seeking justice, they learned that true courage often involves mercy, understanding, and standing up for what is morally right amid chaos.